the brightest young superstar in the NBA. A player who's supposed to be in his prime for the next decade crumples to the Madison Square Garden floor in agony, his championship dreams shattered in an instant, his career hanging by a thread. That was Jayson Tatum just 3 months ago. And what happened next has left medical experts, NBA scouts, and basketball insiders completely speechless. The date was May 15th, 2025. Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals between the Boston Celtics and New York Knicks. With 2 minutes and 58 seconds left in the fourth quarter and the Celtics clinging to a 2-point lead, Tatum dove for a loose ball near half-court. What should have been a routine hustle play turned into every athlete's worst nightmare. As he planted his right foot to pivot and secure possession, his Achilles tendon snapped like a rubber band stretched beyond its limit. The silence in Madison Square Garden was deafening. 20,000 Knicks fans, who had been screaming for their team just seconds before, fell completely quiet as they watched one of basketball's most electric talents writhing in pain. Tatum knew immediately what had happened. The way he grabbed his heel, the look of devastation on his face, told the entire story before any medical examination could confirm it. His teammates rushed to his side, but there was nothing they could do. The damage was done. Within hours, the basketball world was mourning what appeared to be a career-altering injury for the 27-year-old superstar. Achilles ruptures in professional basketball aren't just season-ending injuries, they're often career-defining moments that separate the greats from the good. Kevin Durant spent an entire season rehabbing his Achilles tear. Kobe Bryant was never quite the same explosive player after his rupture in 2013. The statistics are brutal. Only about 60% of NBA players who suffer complete Achilles ruptures ever return to their previous level of performance. The next morning, Tatum underwent emergency surgery at Massachusetts General Hospital. The Celtics medical staff, led by team physician Dr. Brian McKeon, performed what's called an open repair, stitching the torn tendon back together with surgical precision. The initial prognosis was standard but devastating: 9 to 12 months of recovery time. This meant Tatum would miss the entirety of the 2025-26 season and potentially face months of uncertainty about whether he'd ever reclaim his elite status. What made this injury particularly crushing was the timing. Tatum had been having the best playoff run of his career, averaging 31 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists through the first 2 rounds. He was finally ready to carry the Celtics to their second championship in 4 years. Instead, Boston's season ended in the very next game, a blowout loss to the Knicks that nobody saw coming. But here's where this story takes an absolutely shocking turn. While the basketball world prepared for a long, painful recovery process, something extraordinary was happening behind closed doors. Tatum's age became his secret weapon. At 27, he possessed something that older stars like Kobe and Durant didn't have when they suffered similar injuries: peak physical conditioning and optimal healing capacity. His body was still in its prime, his metabolism firing at maximum efficiency, his muscle memory intact. The Celtics medical team immediately implemented an aggressive but carefully monitored rehabilitation protocol. They brought in specialists from around the country, including Dr. Robert Anderson, the foot and ankle surgeon who had successfully treated similar injuries for NFL players. The key difference in Tatum's case was the immediate surgical intervention. Within 18 hours of the injury, his tendon was repaired, minimizing the gap between torn ends and optimizing the healing environment. By late June, just 6 weeks post-surgery, Tatum was already exceeding expectations in his rehabilitation. While most Achilles patients spend the first 2 months in protective boots and walking aids, Tatum was beginning pool-based exercises and gentle range-of-motion work. His dedication to the recovery process became legendary among the Celtics training staff. He was in the facility 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day, attacking his rehab with the same intensity he brought to championship games. Then came the moment that left the entire basketball community stunned. On August 2nd, 2025, roughly 2.5 months after his devastating injury, Tatum appeared at Chris Paul's CP3 Elite Camp in Las Vegas. But he wasn't there as a spectator or motivational speaker. He was working out, no protective boot, no visible limping, no signs of the catastrophic injury that was supposed to sideline him for an entire season. NBA scout Marcus Williams, who has been evaluating talent for over 15 years, was present at the camp and couldn't believe what he was witnessing. He later told reporters that he had seen dozens of players attempt comebacks from Achilles tears, and none of them looked remotely close to Tatum's current condition at this stage of recovery. The fluidity of his movements, the confidence in his plant foot, the absence of obvious compensation patterns, all suggested a recovery that was progressing at an unprecedented pace. What really caught everyone's attention wasn't just that Tatum was moving well. It was how he was moving. During individual workout sessions, he demonstrated lateral quickness that would be impressive for a healthy player, let alone someone less than 3 months removed from a complete tendon rupture. He performed defensive slides, change of direction movements, and even some light jumping exercises that medical experts say typically aren't attempted until month 4 or 5 of standard rehabilitation. The most telling moment came during a shooting drill where Tatum had to quickly transition from catching a pass to shooting a three-pointer. The explosive first step, the precise footwork, the balanced follow-through, all looked remarkably similar to his pre-injury form. A slight limp was still visible when he walked between drills, but during actual basketball movements, that limitation seemed to disappear entirely. What's happening behind the scenes is even more remarkable. Sources close to the Celtics organization reveal that Tatum has been secretly working with cutting-edge recovery technologies that weren't available to previous generations of injured players. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy, platelet-rich plasma injections, and advanced electrical stimulation protocols have all been part of his daily routine. The team has spared no expense in giving him access to the most innovative treatment methods available. Meanwhile, the Celtics front office has been making moves that suggest they're preparing for multiple scenarios. Their off-season acquisitions and roster construction indicate they're not expecting Tatum back early, but insiders say there's growing optimism within the organization. General manager Brad Stevens has been careful not to set any public timelines, but privately team officials are beginning to discuss what a February or March return might look like. The medical community remains divided on Tatum's prospects. Conservative estimates still suggest he needs several more months before he can handle the physical demands of NBA basketball. The cutting and jumping required at the professional level puts enormous stress on the Achilles tendon, and rushing back too early could result in re-injury or long-term complications. However, progressive sports medicine experts point to Tatum's case as potentially revolutionary, showing what's possible when optimal age, immediate treatment, and unlimited resources combine. What makes this recovery even more intriguing is the psychological component. Achilles injuries often create mental barriers that can be just as challenging as the physical rehabilitation. Players become hesitant to fully commit to explosive movements, worried about re-injury or pain. But those who have observed Tatum's recent workouts note a complete absence of hesitation in his movements. He appears to trust his body completely, attacking drills with the same fearless mentality that made him a superstar. The ripple effects of Tatum's potential early return extend far beyond Boston. If he can come back ahead of schedule and perform at his previous level, it would fundamentally change how the medical community approaches Achilles rehabilitation. Other players facing similar injuries would have a new roadmap for recovery, and teams might be more willing to invest in stars coming off major injuries. For the Celtics specifically, an early Tatum return could transform their entire season outlook. Currently constructed as a team that might struggle to make the playoffs without their superstar, a February comeback could thrust them back into championship contention. The Eastern Conference landscape would shift dramatically, with Miami, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia suddenly facing a rejuvenated Boston squad down the stretch. The basketball world is watching every development with fascination and skepticism in equal measure. Social media explodes every time new footage of Tatum's workouts surfaces. Medical experts debate the wisdom of his aggressive timeline on sports talk shows. Teammates and opponents alike are eager to see whether this remarkable recovery story will have the fairy tale ending everyone is hoping for. But perhaps the most compelling aspect of this entire saga is what it represents for the future of sports medicine and athlete recovery. Tatum's case study could influence how teams approach injury prevention, surgical timing, and rehabilitation protocols for years to come. If he successfully returns to elite-level basketball ahead of all projections, it might mark a turning point in how we think about career-threatening injuries. As we head deeper into August, every workout video, every scout report, and every medical update carries enormous weight. The slight limp that was visible in Las Vegas continues to diminish. The range of motion in his ankle improves weekly. The confidence in his movements grows stronger with each passing day. What started as a devastating career setback has evolved into one of the most closely watched comeback stories in recent sports history. Whether Jayson Tatum can complete this remarkable journey from Madison Square Garden heartbreak to unprecedented recovery remains to be seen. But one thing is absolutely certain: he's already shattered every expectation about what's possible in Achilles tendon rehabilitation, and the basketball world will never look at these injuries the same way again.